Alrighty, so we have Sam Hughes versus Loma Lookboonme. I'm probably just going to call her Loma from here on. So Loma, she's an atom weight, so she's quite undersized for women's strawweight. Sam Hughes has a 4-inch height advantage, a 2-inch reach advantage. It's going to be pretty standard for Loma going forward. She is a fairly big strawweight, Sam Hughes. So yeah, the size difference will be there. But yeah, we'll break down the strike into these two. So Loma, she's coming from that Muay Thai background. She's got a really nice Muay Thai game as a whole. She'll get in the clinch, got Muay Thai plum clinch elbows, Muay Thai plum clinch knees. She gets her kicks up quite effortlessly. She's got really good dexterity on her hips. They come up very quickly. And yeah, she has a really nice Muay Thai game. For Sam Hughes, she's all about forward pressure. She's generally one and done though with her strike. She's either going to throw the jab or the straight right. She doesn't chain combinations together too frequently. Best punch is probably the naked straight right. Her offense off the clinch break can be good. I think it's not going to be advised to clinch up with Loma though, just because of her experience in the clinch, and that's generally where she likes the fight to be anyway, so you don't really want to play into your opponent's advantages. Alright, so how these guys win fights. So for Loma, she's got really nice kicks, nice kicking game as a whole. For Sam Hughes, forward pressure goes very far in low-level women's MMA fights. And she seems to pick her shots well, but she can be a little low volume. How they lose fights. So for Loma, she has pretty poor takedown defense. Just her balance when defending takedowns as well doesn't look very solid. Her get-ups need work, or she's just going to continuously get taken down and controlled and subbed constantly because people aren't going to want to stand with her. I'm fairly skeptical of her ground game and just her BJJ game as a whole. When she does get taken down, her guard is just loose as hell. Doesn't look like she knows what she's doing off her back. She kind of looks like someone who's never trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in her life. So it is kind of concerning when she does get taken down. But Sam Hughes doesn't really wrestle that much. She's more of a striker. So I think they've matched her up pretty favorably for Loma here. But I wouldn't put it past Sam to look to get her wrestling boots on this one, because that's probably what I'd tell her to do. Alright, so path to victory for these two is, for Sam, look to get your wrestling boots on, because on the feet I think it's going to get a little ugly. But yeah, if you're going to be on the feet, look to forward pressure, throw the counter two, just try and be really in your face with the pressure. Alright, so for Loma, look for your kicks. If she's going to be walking forward, just walk her onto your kicks. Look for the teeps and the push kicks. Just the push kicks to push her back if she's getting really aggressive with the pressure. But also the leg kicks as well, the low calf kicks. She doesn't really check them. It could be a good weapon here for this one. So how I see the fight playing out. Alright, so, both are very green, obviously. Look at their records, 5-2 for each. I think Hughes is going to be on the front foot. Loma's going to be having more success on the feet, letting Hughes walk onto her kicks. Also, just the push kicks are going to be, super on in this fight for Loma, just because Hughes does square her stance as she's advancing. Also, just to kind of relieve the pressure from that Hughes is going to be putting on her, she can clinch up, and I think she'll be able to dominate the clinch from there. She also can put her on the fence, get the head pressure in there. I think she has decent head pressure in the clinch. She does that well, and that is quite a good skill to have as the shorter fighter, as she will generally be. So yeah, I think the UFC have matched Loma up quite favourably for her. I think this is a good matchup for her. I don't think Sam Hughes is going to wrestle too much, or her wrestling's good enough to maybe get Loma down. But yeah, it's I don't want to bet Loma at that price just because she is so green, and her grappling deficiencies are really glaring. But this is a favourable matchup for her. They've done well, the UFC have. But yeah, I'm not really looking to bet her at that price. I think it's a little bit too high for the level of this fight. So yeah, but I do think Loma wins. I think she wins by decision. So as we could see, Loma is a sizable favourite. I agree with it. I think Loma should be a favourite, but maybe a little bit too high. I do favour her to win around 70 to 75% of the time. But at the end of the day, this is low level women's MMA. Like Loma's game is very flawed. She has a lot of holes in her game. So Sam Hughes can make it ugly, make it close. I don't want to bet Loma at this price, but I do think she wins. And I don't want to bet Sam Hughes either, even though usually it is bet the dog in low level women's MMA, especially at this price. But I just don't really feel like it. But yeah, in that Penne versus Godinez fight, I didn't really want to bet Penne because I think her game's so ugly. But the ugliness in her game worked, and she made it really close, and she ended up snaking a split decision. So at this level, you're better off just going with the dog. I don't think there's a small percentage of the time that Loma represents her money line here, and she completely dominates and makes it look like a complete mismatch. But yeah, a lot of the time these do get close. These striking matches with low level women's MMA. But Loma is much better on the feet, and I do expect most of the fight to play out there. So yeah, I do think Loma wins. I think she gets it done by decision.